live on Whiting too? Guys, go to Whiting Farms Facebook page. We're going to be doing a live stream there of me tying some fancy flies. They might even catch fish. So Brigham's going to sit here and clown me while we get started. We're good? You got to tell me when we start recording.
We are live.
See, Brigham, you got to do that. Whoa, you just woke up the dog. All right. So we'll just kind of wait for a second until we get a few people on here. Whoa, look at this. It looks like a big old Sasquatch. Go ahead and comment and say hello. Give us a big fat thumbs up. Give us a follow. Wait, I have to be on my best behavior because I'm on the Whiting page, right? Is that right? Okay. Well, we'll give you all a little bit of time to jump on here. This should be a fun one. We're just going to kind of freestyle a little bit. And if you have questions, put them in the comments and we'll try to answer as best we can. Probably be a lot of questions about my purple popsicle vise and my pro hat. So cue those up. I'm an open book. I can help you understand the pro ways.
Oh, Facebook just crapped out. Internet connection's good.
Okay. And it looks like we're having a few technical difficulties. So,
Of course.
Brig, we're good there on Insta Live.
Someone just said Brigham rules.
Brigham rules what?
I don't know.
The Hobbit Kingdom?
Oh my.
Yeah, I agree. All right, so did this
Pause
looks like
due to poor connection. Oh, I think we're up again. We're up again.
are we good, Curtis, on Facebook?
Mine still says we're down, but if you're seeing something, Brig, maybe.
It looks like on my fancy phone that I'm looking at shows that we're good. Let's see. Someone says, where can we get the pro hat? You order a hat that's big enough to fit your big fat head and you order it. What dad shoes am I wearing today? These are all very pertinent questions to the success of Whiting Farms. I have the Ultras, very wide for my big fat feet. Never thought you would see that on a live stream. Let's see. Aaron says frugal. Yes, this is very frugal. Check this fly out. It's filthy. I think we'll tie that one first. Jacques, hello from Canada. All right, so let's just get started. How many people do we have on here? I guess I can't see that. That's all good. We're just going to get started.
Do you want to tell these guys where to go? What to
Yeah,
do?
so for the Instagram people, go to the Whiting Farms Facebook page and you'll be able to see the rest of this video. Peace out.
It's going to be live there.
It's going to be live there. Gosh, Brigham, stop one-upping me. Okay. All right. So, we're going to go over stillwater flies, just a few patterns. Nothing really groundbreaking here, but we'll just have fun tying them. The first one's going to be a little Jig Bugger that I've been fishing lately. And we'll get that prepped. As you can see, I've got a jig hook in the vise. And this is how I like to put my slotted beads on. Put the hook in upside down and slide it over and then reposition it. Let me make sure it's nice and straight for all you people out there in camera land. There we go. So this is just like, I think this is a Screaming Red fire hole stone. The hook is a Hack 400 or the Umpqua XC 400. And if you haven't tried this new Semperfli thread, I would highly recommend it. I'm using some 6/0 in red today. And I gotta find the marabou. Brigham stole it. Alright, let's see. Before we get too far into it though, we need to give a special shout out to old Charlie Craven. He's going through a rough time with some issues, with some tragedy in his family. If you can go to his Facebook page and check it out, there's a GoFundMe. So very important. We're all pulling for you, Charlie. Keep your head up. All right. So we're going to tie in some marabou. This is premium buggerboo, so you can see it's not like your typical marabou that we're going to pull all to the tip like this. We're going to pull it off the sides because it's a very movable and pliable product. I guess I have two cameras. I'm not used to this.
We're pro.
I guess if you wear the pro hat, you got two cameras. Let's see. And I'm going to be looking over here. This is where my phone is, just so I can see the comments. So I'm going to pull some off the side, and in order to get this long enough for this fly, if I were to tie this in all the way at the head, it probably wouldn't have enough feather for what I like. So I'm going to trim that off, and then if I grab this with my thumbnail, this is a Davy McPhail hack, we're going to pull out some of these marabou fibers and just expose the marabou stem. And you'll see when I tie this in, it's going to be just a very slim tie-in. So there we go, tie it in nice and slim, and I'm actually not even going to trim much of that off of there. And that's a great amount for a tail for this type of bug. Used to be back in the day when I would tie stillwater flies, I would tie with a longer shanked hook and a shorter tail, because I was told back in the day that you'd get short strikes if you had too long of a tail. Well, you have to consider that if your trout are small enough to short strike, you know, a fly that's 2 inches long, you're probably fishing for the wrong fish. So use long tails. It's going to add a ton of action to your flies. It's definitely worked for me. I caught 73.8% more fish. Let's see. Okay, we'll move forward from here. I'm going to use the reverse palmer technique on this one, and I'm going to do a standard woolly bugger. Here in a second, we're going to show you a different way to trap the hackle fibers down. But I'm just going to use some wire. Looks like I've got purple wire on the desk today, so that's what I'm going to use. Curtis is probably tying the fancy purple chimera. Dude, that's a good idea, actually. I'm going to do it. All right. So we'll tie some wire in, and we're going to use some Arizona Diamond Dub, which is a very good dubbing. It's a little shorter than Semi Seal, which is its cousin, and has a little bit more flash. It's a little bit coarser. More coarse or coarser? What's the word? Coarsest. Curtis says. Okay, so I'm going to build a dubbing loop and close that off. If you don't close off your dubbing loops on the back like I just did, your dubbing's just going to fall out. Alright, so where did my dubbing loop tool go? Right here. So this is the CNF Top Twister. This is my favorite dubbing twister tool. It's really simple. It's just very well balanced. If you turn this upside down and twist it, it will spin on the table just like a top. So there's a lot of force that goes into this tiny little dubbing twister. But I'll just load that up, and I'm going to build this dubbing loop. And as you can see, I cut the corner off the bag of my dubbing. And if you do that, let's see if I can put this down for a sec. If you do that, when you pull your dubbing out of this bag, it all just kind of lines it up for you, just like this, ready to throw in the loop. Now I need to find where I was in my loop. Right there. Okay, so I'm just going to give it a couple pinches, just like that. And if I hold my dubbing twister up like this, it's not going to interfere with my thread while I twist it. And I'll just give that a twist, and you can see how fast that turns. And you almost have to stop it so it doesn't turn too much and bind your thread up too much. So I'll pick that out just a little bit, and from here you could use like the bobbin cradle, but I just like to stick my finger like this. Sorry if I'm all fingers right here and you can't see what I'm doing on the fly. And just use the rotary feature to go forward. Alright. So, yes, you could fish it just like that. But, a lot of the buggers I like to fish on still waters are use like a little bit of an oversized hackle, and it's a softer hackle, not like your standard woolly bugger. So we have these really cool, what are these called? Bugger patches? Whiting bugger patches. So this is a patch of rooster. So imagine I'm a rooster and I got feathers right here, right up on my chest, keeping me warm. This is where this comes from, off the rooster. So it's a soft hackle from a rooster that's really, really good for these small buggers like this. So I'm going to pluck one of these bad boys off, and really you could use it for anything that calls for a soft hackle, obviously. But I'll prep the feather by taking some of the fluff off and trimming some of these fibers. What's going on, Brigham? Are you yelling at me? Okay. So I'm just going to tie that in right behind the bead and then wrap it back. Let's see. Who else is saying something here? Oh, yes. You guys need to tell me if there are any comments I need to address here.
I will.
Okay, all right.
I'm
So,
watching
where is this? So, whenever you do a tutorial online, you have to bring your bling. This is like, I want to buy 5 of these, so they're like championship rings. So you just stick them on your finger like that. Right, I brought all my fancy tools. These are both dubbing twisters. I actually don't need them both. I just need one, but I just wanted to show them off on the video. Bugger down. Okay, so I'll grab this hackle with a fancy hackle plier. And it's important when you're reverse palmering this that you space out the wraps quite a bit. So I really only want about 4 turns of hackle on this bad boy. And I'm going to take the wire before my last turn of hackle, and I'm going to push it away from me like this so that I can trap this hackle down. And I'm going to trap it with 2 turns right next to each other, just like that. And then I should be able to pull this feather against itself and break it off, just like that. See how I called my shot there, guys? That was pretty good. Then I'm going to take the wire, wiggle it through the body here, all the way up to the bead, and really cinch down on that wire, bend it against itself from the or against the last angle that it was tied in, if that makes sense, and create a crease before you start helicoptering it off, and then it comes off nice and easily. Quick whip finish, and I have this fancy Trout Hunter water-based head cement that I've really been liking lately. Seeps in just enough, not too much to run into your materials. Alright, so here we have this Jig Bugger, and to finish it up a little bit, I'm just going to blend it, and it's going to blend that dubbing with these soft hackles, and it's going to push everything back. It's going to make everything flow nicely. So there you go. That's kind of a little leech. You could tie this in lighter colors as a little bait fish or something like that, but typically when I fish a fly like this, I'm fishing a team of flies. Well, I'm going through puberty right before your eyes. Oh my gosh. So, anyway, I'm fishing this on a team of flies on a midge tip a lot of times, on like a 18 feet of leader, and this is my point fly, or on a parabolic line where it's the fly closest to my fly line. We've talked a lot about stillwater fishing on our podcasts and in our videos, so go over there to our YouTube channel to check that out if you want to get more information on the stillwater fishing and the specifics on the leaders. But another great combo that I like with this style of fly is an all black fly and a chartreuse head. In the competition world, they call that a blank saver, and it's truly an effective fly. So, what else? Any questions right now? Jared Church says, tag team that with a donkey. So he's from North Carolina. He says donkey. You barely understand the guy, but it's another good leech pattern that's like peach colored and tan. So I don't fish that stuff because I don't have the right to. You have to be from North Carolina to fish that. Let's see, what else? Kelly Barnes says, what about an intermediate line? Yeah, you could fish it on an intermediate line. Maybe with an intermediate line, I would tie this with a smaller bead so it would sink slower, but still would get that good inverted action so that you could hook the fish right in the top of the mouth when you get them. Let's see. Mark Thee says, I just found out you're a friggin' pro today. But
About
guess what?
time.
Yeah, I don't know if you can read, but yeah, I am a pro. Okay, so that's the Jig Bugger. We have a tutorial on a fly similar to this on our YouTube channel called the Diamond Leech. So again, check that out. We have these bugger patches. Dang, I always forget the name. At flyfishfood.com/whiting. We have a special page set up that will show a lot of the products that we're using for this fancy video that we're showing you right now. So anyway, what we have this in, I think, Coachman Brown, Claret, Olive, Burnt Orange, and Grizzly.
Yeah.
And purple? Purple, too. According to Curtis. Okay. So, let's move on to another fly. It's a fly I invented called the Woolly Booger. Oh, Dave Nemeth. Sorry, I missed your comment. He said, what size do you tie them on? That one was a size 10, but I would say anywhere between 8 to 12 on that fly. Okay, so here we are. We're just going to tie a basic woolly bugger. Nothing fancy. We're going to keep it simple. We're going to tie the most basic woolly bugger. Like this woolly bugger went to high school in Rexburg, Idaho. Basic. So we're just going to tie it out of marabou. Actually, it's not that basic. It has a dubbing body instead of chenille. So let's see. This hook is a Tiemco 5262 size 8. I like the 5262 because it's a little bit shorter shank than a 5263, which means that I'm going to get the same length of, say, like a size 10 5263 with a larger gap. So that's why I like the 5262 quite a bit for buggers. I'm going to use that same thread just because it's on the table, but olive and red is a pretty good combo. And we'll just dress the hook. Let's see, I'm going to try to find a good chunk of marabou. So, a lot of different ways that you can pick marabou for a bugger. This is the Fish Hunter marabou. It's a strung marabou. This is one of my favorites. This is actually the 1 ounce master pack. So, I think this is like 13 bucks for this much marabou. So that's an ounce of marabou. You could like
Loincloth.
The Brigham beard.
Yes.
All right. So,
Somebody's asking how you like your bobbin.
how I like my bobbin? It's awesome. So this bobbin is a CNF bobbin. It's truly one of the best bobbins out there, mostly because it's got a nice weight to it. It feels good in the hand. There's something about having a bobbin that's a little bit heavy to help you control. But yeah, it's great. This is the CNF, I think it's the standard
Yep.
bobbin, right?
CFT-60.
What thread is that?
This thread is Semperfli A-dot thread in red. Okay, let's see. When I'm choosing some marabou, here's a good example right here. So this is a pretty good piece of marabou right here. It's pretty flowy throughout the piece of marabou. It's got a thin stem, and if I wanted to pull some off the sides, I could. If I want to pull this all toward the tip, it lines up pretty nicely. Versus say this one. This one actually doesn't have as good of tip. As you can see, it's a lot more sparse up on the tip. However, this one has better fluff on the sides. So this piece of marabou I might choose to pull off the sides. This piece also would actually be really good for palmering if you're going to tie it in by the tip, just because the stem is so thin. So I'm going to go ahead and clean this up a little bit. Mr. Kelly Gallup will be excited to see this. If I take off a lot of this underfluff off the marabou, my tie-in for this tail is going to be a lot more slim and a lot neater. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to preen all this back, and I'm going to use roughly a shank length or maybe a little bit longer worth of marabou on this fly. So to create a nice, even, level body, let me just get this tied in first. I'm going to tie it in right at the tie-in point, and it's important not to cut this off right here, because if you do, there's going to be a big bump at the end of your fly. What I like to do is just lift up the marabou and wrap my thread forward and trap it down in the front of the fly, and then I can take my thread and wrap it back to the tie-in point, and now my marabou is nice and secure, and I can take my scissors and just trim it off here at the front, and just give it a nice tie down. I'm still waiting for the guy to say, you could just fish that right there like that. Why even continue?
It's a waste.
And it's true. Oh, I just have all this extra time. So, all right. So I'm going to show you a hack to make really simple yet durable buggers, and it doesn't involve wire. So I'm just going to build an ice stub body on this one, just out of peacock colored ice stub. You could use chenille if you wanted. My son asked a girl to prom, no joke. Guess what her name is? Chenille. She's a fly tying material. He doesn't get the joke. That's what dads are for. Alright, so I've got a pretty healthy dubbing noodle here. Oh, I just killed my head cement bottle. Alright, a little bit too much dubbing, so we'll just take some of that off. Alright, and we'll leave just enough room up in front of the fly to tie in my hackle. Alright, so here's another hack before we get into the durability part. This is just a half cape that I've had. This is a grizzly variant. It's a really great dry fly quality, almost Cree cape. By the way, you don't need Cree hackle. The fish can't tell that from grizzly or barred dark ginger. Cree hackle's really cool, but you don't need it. I like it, and you should buy it if you can, but you don't need it. Should I say that?
Mic drop.
Mic drop.
Ending session.
Okay, yeah, end session. Okay, the reason I'm showing you this fine dry fly quality cape, I think this was a silver, is that all this stuff in the very back is really, really good for buggers. So I'm just going to pluck one of these off. So don't neglect your dry fly quality stuff to use them for buggers. Really, from about here down, they're not going to make great dry flies anyway. What's beeping? Probably one of the scanners over there.
The mic.
Sounded like it was from over there. We have some beeping going on. All right, so I'm going to get this feather about like this. I'm going to
Which one? The wide angle?
Yeah.
I'm going to trim this up. We still good, boys?
Yeah, we may lose the wide angle battery here shortly, but it's not supposed to go all the way out. But
Okay. So I'm just going to trap this in here, and once I get this tied in, I'm just going to take this and wrap this backward just like I did with the other one, using fairly wide turns. You don't want a woolly bugger that has too much hackle, because you're basically creating a stimulator type body with it. You're going to make a fly that actually floats. I've heard a lot of people say, well, if you don't wrap the hackle back and then back up, it's going to twist in the air while you're casting it. No, not true at all. Don't worry about that. If you're using maybe a 7X leader, it's going to twist, but don't worry about that one single little bit. It's not going to twist up any more than a normal woolly bugger would. So I'm going to take my thread now, and I'm going to wrap my thread back over the top of the hackle and tie it in back there and rip off the excess. And then I'm going to take my thread and wiggle it back up through everything, try not to trap down any barbs, and create a nice little head at the front of it. So not only did that tie down my hackle really well, it created a little red hot spot through the body. So if you use strong enough thread, you can use that to rib your bugger. And if you wanted to add a little bit of element of bugginess to this as well, because I use dubbing, you could go ahead and brush some of that out. It's not going to brush out very well because I used a tight dubbing noodle instead of a dubbing loop. But anyway, that's a real simple hack for woolly buggers. You should tie them so that it angles from big hackle to small hackle. But anyway, the cool thing about buggers is you can do them in a bunch of different sizes, colors, and Kelly Barnes, this is the one that you want to fish on your intermediate line. Let's see, any more comments?
microwave.
Someone says popcorn's done. Microwave with hot pockets. That's what we should name this fly. It's brand new.
Hot pocket.
The Hot Pocket Bugger. All right. For the next person that comments, Brigham is short, we will mail you this fly for free. All right, Curtis, hang on to that. Let's see if we can get the comments going. What now? Let's see.
What about?
We're going to do a calabatus. Not really a calabatus, though, because it's more of just like a soft hackle. Do you think the people want to see calabatus? Brigham is short. Grady. Is he the first one?
Grady Strand.
Grady Strand. Grady Strand. Go to the Fly Fish Food Instagram and send us a DM with your address, and we will send you that fly with some stickers. All the rest of you guys, I appreciate the fact that you're saying Brigham's short, but it's old news by now. How tall are you really, Brig?
5'8".
5'8"?
He ain't that short.
He's really short.
Oh my god.
9 inches shorter than me. That's a lot. Okay. We're going to do another weightless fly. This one is kind of just an all-purpose nymph for still waters. This is just going to be a soft hackle. It's like a soft hackled hare's ear kind of thing. And we're going to use these really cool 4B hen saddles. Now, if you can't get 4B, a lot of times the Hebert Minor equivalent of this will be called a wild type brown. But it's a really cool color because you can see that there's some variegation and some speckling in the color of this hen. Now, if there were a dry fly hackle that was the same amount of speckle, we'd be able to sell them maybe. I don't know if you've heard, but we sell a little bit of dry fly hackle here on at Flyfish Food. www.flyfishfood.com/whiting.
What that fly is.
What's that?
What the fly is in the
On the left?
talon.
Oh, in this one?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll show you. I didn't know that was visible. I asked Brigham to tie a dry fly, and he came over and he instructed me to tie this. It's just a marabou soft hackle thinger, kind of like the drunk Drea. I was just warming up, kind of like when an opera singer sings scales. What is it? You want me to try one?
I would.
No, I'm not going to do it. So I just, I had to warm up with a little pink and creamsicle. Check this out though. Look how much this lights up. Very UV friendly. Also, looks great with the purple popsicle vise. Alright. Did that answer your questions? Briggs says, or Kelly says Briggs 5'3" with heels. Well, that's Chance. That's Briggs' wife. Alright. Okay. So we're going to use that same thread because why not? This hook is awesome. It's a Fulling Mill heavyweight competition hook. It's got a really long point, as you can see. It's barbless. I fished this hook quite a bit and caught a lot of fish on it. So check it out. Also similar to this one, a brand new one's called it's the Umpqua XC290. Very good hook for stillwater fishing like this. So anyway, let's see. People are saying LOL. They must be thinking about Brigham. So I'm going to take one of these feathers about like this. I'll clean it up. You can use the fluff for flies if you want, but I'm not going to. And I'm just going to take some of these feathers off the side of this, or some of these barbs off the side of the feather to make the tail. So I want to tie the tail in just a little bit long, because I want it to have a little bit of movement. And these are actually slim enough to just cover up with thread, and there's not too much of a bump. You can add more fibers on there if you want, but you don't need to. I'm just going to rib this with tinsel, and I really like this sulky, or what do they call it? Sulky tinsel. This one's color 8007. It's just a gold. It's a really deep yellow gold. And what I like about this stuff is that it's quite a bit more durable than normal tinsel or flash. It's also very hard to find the end of it if you cut it too short. So there it is. Okay. All right. We're just going to tie this in. I'm going to even up the body here. And just for fun, I'll keep my thread nice and flat. As you can see with this Semperfli thread, It is somewhat corded, but it's really easy to flatten out. Okay, now I'm just going to build a little bit of taper into this fly. This is usually the part of the video that Curtis plays circus music. That was a terrible mouth trumpet, and it even woke the dog up. Sorry, Squatch, my bad.
Got me sleeping.
Got him. Okay, so we've got a little bit of taper built up here. Take my thread. Whoa, I just dinged it. That's why I use 6/0. Okay, so for this part, I'm just going to use some squirrel. A couple of years back, one of the neighbor kids, he knows I like to tie flies, and he sent me a picture of him holding a squirrel that he shot out of his grandpa's tree in Idaho. And jokingly, I told him to bring it back to me, so he did. So I got a frozen bag of squirrel pelt, and I shaved it, and I've been using that squirrel for a long, long time. So it's really good dubbing. I call it Mason squirrel because his name's Mason. All right. I'm just gonna make a dubbing noodle here. Doesn't have to be too tight. You can always add more if you need to. My thread got roughed up a little bit, so the dubbing noodle did not want to slide very well, so just rebuild it up there. Okay, so as you can see, as I wrap this dubbing noodle up the fly, it's going to create that natural taper. So I'm going to do it about to there, and then I have some cool squirrel that I took some of that Mason squirrel and I mixed it with like some cinnamon or lavender ice dub. So you can see there's a little bit of flash in that. So I'm just going to finish the, I guess where the thorax would be out of the flashy squirrel. It's just going to add a tiny element of flash. Sometimes that can be all the difference when you're fishing like a clear day or really clear colored water. And then I'm gonna leave plenty of room up here at the eye to wrap a soft hackle. Now, because I wrapped my dubbing in and wrapped it clockwise, I'm going to take my rib and wrap that counterclockwise, just because it tends to show up a little bit better like that. You just need to make sure that you really tie it down well, or else it'll slip out.
We had a question about Euro Nymph tailing packs.
Euro Nymph tailing packs?
I pasted the thing, but it may be good to mention because
someone had a question about
when they're coming back.
Euro or the Whiting CDL tailing pack. So let's talk about this for a second. The tailing packs from Whiting are very popular for both dry flies and for Euro nymphs. And the tailing packs have been in really, really short supply. So there's a new product called the Euro Nymph tailing pack, right? So instead of the feathers being plucked from, you know, right above the wing, isn't that where the normal tailing packs are taken from? They've actually taken the saddles from these birds and they have taken those and put them in packages, and they're awesome for Euro nymphs. We've gotten them in what is it? Dark Pardo, Pardo dyed red, Pardo dyed pink, and purple, and blue as well. So
And orange.
And orange.
Yep.
Freak, I'm a noob. So look up the Euro Nymph tailing pack instead of just the tailing pack. So we'll talk about intro saddles too. I just saw that one coming.
Oh, yeah.
Rick, good call. So you guys have seen the intro saddles from Whiting start popping up. So what happened was they had a bunch of the pro grade Hebert miners, and when they did some price increases, they wanted to offer a lot of these pro grades for a cheaper price. So intro hackles are basically the old pro grades from Hebert miner, and they're 35 bucks. So, and if you guys don't know what a pro grade is, usually a pro grade is a hackle that has like some broken tips, or maybe it's got not a very good transition from small to large sizing on a cape or something like that, and so they get downgraded to pro grade. Now, if you took a fly tied out of a silver or a gold and you put it up next to a fly tied out of a pro grade, you wouldn't be able to tell the difference. So it's just as good of quality, but it's called a pro grade. So the intros are excellent. We have another batch coming out probably in the next week or so, hopefully.
Yep. And we're gonna have more queued up after that. So
Yeah.
we're gonna have good
So
supply.
we'll have a bunch more of those coming in, and some really cool colors. Like we got a bunch of them, and I started calling them speckled dun, because the dun coloring was like speckled between light and dark. Very dirty, very fishy. So look for those coming up. So good call, Rick, about the intro hackle. Okay, speaking of hackle, let's get this bad boy hackled. I'm going to use this feather that I pulled off the 4B, and I'm going to take the tip of this one and I'll prepare it for tie-in. So I basically have taken the feather and I've done this with it. So that little notch right there is my tie-in point. Trim that off, and I'm actually going to throw a little whip finish in this because I don't want it to come undone while I manipulate this hackle. Okay, so at this point I like to take my hackle and preen it back and fold it back. Now if I just squeeze it on one side, it will fold one side but not the other. So if I take it back on my fingers and rotate my fingers back and forth from side to side, it will fold both of those sides back, just like that. So I probably won't use the whole thing, but I'll get it ready. And I just pulled it out. Gosh dang it.
Freaking noob.
Cue,
Here's your new hat.
cue the Kelly Barnes joke. So let me try to do that again without explaining so much. We'll get right back there. You guys have seen me do this. Usually when I break stuff off like that, I swear. So we'll get right back to it, and I'm just going to start wrapping the feather. Alright, so here's my feather folded over. And this is such a long stem that I don't even need my hackle pliers. So I'll wrap usually just like 3 to 4 turns of this. That's 2, maybe just right there is where I'll stop it. And I built up too much thread there. It still looks really good, but from here, instead of trimming that off, I'm just going to fold that back and build up a little bit of a head, and then just pull that and break it off. That makes a really super durable tie-in. It won't come unraveled. Do a minimal whip finish here, and then make sure that I hit it with some good glue, which is that Trout Hunter head cement again. Alright, I'm going to do this on purpose too. Let's say that I glue over the whole eye. Like this. Just savage. So, what I can do is I'm going to take this feather that I just used to show you. I'm going to take a section of feather, and I can just take that and poke it through the eye like that and pull that all the way through, and that will clean off any of that head cement that got in the eye, and then this was just a waste feather anyway, so I'll just get rid of that. But anyway, there is the finished fly. The cool thing about something like this is if I used different colors of thread, here's Fat Martha sitting at my desk still. Sorry to have to show you this, but even as badly spooled as this is, she could still make a good hot spot on this fly. We should probably frame this one. This is the worst spooling ever. Okay. So anyway, you can change the color of thread on this fly to make little hot spots. I could also come in here and, you know, brush out that squirrel a little bit to make it a little bit buggier profile. But this is a great fly to use during calabatus hatches, or anytime you have some weed lines. You could tie this in, you know, an olive coloration with Coq de Leon hen saddle for a damselfly. But just a very versatile fly all around. And with this hook, if you don't add any weight to it, it's actually going to help this fly kind of get down a little bit because of how heavy the hook is. You can add beads in the front, you can add beads in the thorax, you can put lead on the body, all that kind of stuff. So, let's see. What other questions do we have? No other questions? I think we have time for one more fly, right? Okay, let's do it. How about this? I'm going to switch thread colors. I'm going to switch over to some 12-aught Semperfli in tan. And I did a hack on this bobbin. I removed the piece of foam. Let's see if I can thread this by mouth with the CNF. Boom.
You got it.
Got it.
You can
Yeah.
have CNF threaders right there now.
Yeah, I don't even need them. You know why?
Pro.
Because I'm a pro. Yeah, that's exactly right. Okay, so we're going to tie a little mil-spec calabatus hackle stacker. It's a mouthful. All right, so this is a smaller fly. Do we need to adjust the camera, or I think we're good right here.
We're good.
All right, curve shank hook. Try this on your mayflies on any pattern. Tie it on a curve shank hook and eliminate all tailing. No tails. This is going to be an adult. It's not going to look like it should fish, but it does. Okay, so on this fly, the body is really simple. I'm just going to flatten my thread out and dress it part way down the bend, keeping that body nice and flat. I'm going to build up a little bit of a taper. And I'm going to let this rest at the very back of the fly, but I want to open that thread up so it's really super flat here at the back. Now I'm going to show you a hack to get this to look like it's a quill body without it being a quill body. So I'll take a Sharpie here, my thread's super flat, and I'll just color, I don't know, 1.5 inches or so worth of that. And then I'm going to take that thread and just wrap that through the body. And now we have a nice segmented body that's quillish in appearance. Okay, where's this? I brought this one out today. This one is one of my very favorite hackles. This is a light tan done silver Hebert miner that is, I think it was like 23 inches long or something. So, and these are all like 14s and 16s. So this is a great color for lots of different stuff. Light tan done. Don't forget it. Okay, so I'm going to take one of these fancy pieces of hackle. This one I've tied several flies with, and it's still like 20 inches long. And on a lot of flies you have to be really careful about the way that you tie it in, but not on this one. I got too far in front of myself, so I better tie in the parachute post. So on hackle stackers, I've seen a lot of people use monofilament. Some people use parapost. I'm just going to use span flex. So this is actually a piece of hairline life flex material that I think is a little bit easier to work with than span flex because it's straight. It's not all kinked up. And I'm just going to tie in a loop. Tie in a loop of span flex here. Just like that. So from here is where I'm going to tie in my hackle. So I've prepared a little tie-in spot, a little bare stem. We'll trim that off, and you can use your favorite dubbing to create a little thorax. Wait, I don't need to do that yet. I did that on like 2 of the flies I did practicing. Got to wrap the hackle first. Okay, so I'm going to put my finger in this and I'm going to stretch it. I'm going to stretch it out of the way, and I'll use my thumb and middle finger to wrap this parachute. So we have lots of videos on how to make a perfect parachute. This one doesn't follow any of those rules. It doesn't matter the orientation of where your hackle's facing or any of that when you're tying this in. You're just going to want to wrap it up and then back down, and it's going to look pretty gnarly. So once I have the hackle tied in, I'm just going to come in here and preen it all back with my fingers, and I'm going to tie this off. Sorry, this is all fingers right here. Alright, so that's tied down with a few wraps. Get one more tight wrap in here. And now I'm going to trim off my hackle, and I've got some of these hackle fibers trapped down, and that's fine because I'm just going to come in here and trim them off. Just like that. Okay, now I can dub the thorax. And this is from a jackrabbit that I shot out in the woods. I literally was running through the sagebrush with a shotgun and a beard trimmer and a Ziploc bag. And jackrabbit's awesome dubbing. Just make sure when you shoot them it's nice and cold to kill all the parasites. Alright, so pull all your hackle back out of the way. Build up a nice little ball-shaped thorax, and then